In this video, we're going to talk about Autodesk Revit, which is a software for architecture. It can be used to create architectural projects, but also to do facility management. So it's also a management tool. It's not only a drawing tool, and this is the basic difference between a BIM application from a standard CAD application or CAD, but we're gonna get to that later on. This is gonna be an introduction. We're gonna see how we can download it, install it. We can see also a little bit of the interface and of the main panels. So we're gonna start here by just explaining something. So we're gonna use version which is called Revit Lite or Revit LT, this one here. And this version here, it's also available for AutoCAD and Maya and other Autodesk products, and it's a light version, but it's simply a little bit lighter, and it has all the basic tools and panels and functions that are important to create architecture, to design and create your projects. But usually then they don't have the part concerning the rendering and the collaboration with other users, but you can use it. Definitely it's going to be cheaper than the standard Revit version. And by the way, you can also go into the main website here. You will find if you search for it, you will find the student version, which is completely free if you are a student. So just search for Autodesk Revit Student, or you can also download the trial, which is also for free for I think 30 days or few days. So once you do that, you download the installation file, and I'm gonna show you later what you can do. Now I'm just going to do again an introduction on what Revit is and also some differences between different versions of Revit. So Revit is mainly used for architecture. So sometimes you could find the version called Revit Architecture. This version here is specific for architecture. So you can create structure, you can create buildings with architectonic elements or interior design and so on. Then you have another version. Well, it's not actually a version. It's more like an expansion to the basic version, which is architecture, which is called MEP. And this stands for mechanical and electrical and plumbing. You can see it down here. Now, by the way, BIM stands for Building Information Modeling, which is again different from CAD, which means computer aided design. And that's a really important thing that we're gonna explain also later, the difference between BIM and CAD or CAD. So let's move on here. There you go. So building information modeling means that we're actually not simply designing something, not simply drawing into space like AutoCAD in a virtual space. We are only be guided and helped by the computer. No, in this case, when you do building information modeling, it means that you are actually creating a model which will contain a lot of information inside that will be stored inside a database. In that database, everything we will do during the project will be recorded. So anytime we need to change something, anytime we need to create something new, is going to be based on the data stored in that database. So that's the main difference between a simple CAD application like AutoCAD, this is again from Autodesk, and a BIM application. So to put it more simply, Revit or BIM, it's a technology which includes the drawing parts and the part where you design your project, but it's also a management tool. You can manage all aspects of your project. You can manage all the phases. You can manage like options. You can manage costs and tasks, resources. It's a complete 360-degree application for all the life cycle of building. When you are using AutoCAD, usually it's just to draw something. Maybe you are an engineer, maybe you are an architect, but this is just to create some drawings, and then you will print them and you will present them to your client or to your exam or whatever. So the main difference is this is just for drawing basically, and this one here is for management. So this is the main difference, but we're gonna see more difference later as we will see more into the software itself. Now, also another thing I want to tell you is that if you are already an AutoCAD user, you can be a little bit familiar with many of the tools that you will find in Autodesk Revit. Or also, if you know, for example, 3ds Max or Maya, you will see something similar, but this is a total different application. Now, for those of you who didn't ever open any software at all and they are just starting using Revit, but before perhaps you were using like the pencil, don't worry about that, because in our courses we will go from the real beginning for real beginners. So we're gonna start from the basic level, then we're gonna move up and increase the difficulty step by step. So don't worry about that. You can also be a complete beginner in the use of the PC. We're gonna explain everything, so don't worry. Now let's move on a little bit. And in the meanwhile, you can download again a trial or student version, or you can buy the Revit LT. That's the light version we're gonna use in this series of lessons. Now, if you finish to download the installation file, you just have to double click here and run the wizard and proceed with all the steps. Now, when you finish to do that, you can then open up the software, but I'm gonna show you something real quick here. This is to change your language. So you can see all these codes, they represent different languages. So usually you will install the software using your language, but if it doesn't work, you can go here, right click, go to properties, and you will find this shortcut here. And right here, you will find this directory. You need to change the last 3 letters here in the language that you want. So for example, if I am Italian, I want to use this in Italian, I will type ITA, and if I am English, I can type here ENG and so on. So you need to get to the page that I showed you before, get the right code and insert it. Once you change that, you say apply and say okay. It's gonna tell you, okay, are you an administrator? You say yes, and that's it. Then you double click and you run the software real quick, real easy. It doesn't take too much. And well, Revit is not properly a lightweight software. It's a little bit heavy, but it should open up within a couple of, well, maybe a minute. And so let's see here that we can already see the interface. Okay, now it disappeared and we are in the welcome screen. Now the welcome screen, it's divided into 2 parts basically. Now the left part is kind of a menu where you can open and create a new, and you can create new or open models. You can open or create new families. So these are the 2 main elements that you can create with Revit. So we start with a distinction of these 2 main categories, models and families. So basically you can read this as this. You can read this as projects. So models are actually projects or containers. And then you have families that basically are objects or single entities that you can insert into the container, which is the project. So models or projects are the database that you're going to create, where you will place inside all the import all different assets or entities, or you can see them also as blocks. If you are coming from AutoCAD, these are similar to blocks. So you can drag and drop them, insert them, and these are going to be then part of a particular project. So again, these are like contained elements, and these are like containers. So these are projects, these are objects, to make it easier to understand. But we're gonna get to that later. So don't worry if you are if this is something new to you, but you're gonna understand that more later. So you can click on this little icon at the top left. You can switch here for the main interface and the welcome or the home page. Now let's click on this residential project here, and once you click there, you saw that that was one of my recent projects. Well, this is not actually mine. This is a template coming from Autodesk itself that it can be helpful to explain and to start to understand the software. And you can always switch back here to the home page or the welcome page to check other recent files. Right here, again, there will be either models or families. So you can double click. Let's open up also a family. And you can see that you can open up more than one project or more than one family together. They're gonna appear here like different pages in the main area of the interface. You can also close here like that, and if you close every window in the software main view, you're gonna essentially close the project. Now let's get back into that template. Now, if you have other version or maybe older or newer version, you probably don't have the exact same template here, but I'm not gonna do too many things with this. I'm just gonna do the introduction. So I'm mainly going to talk about the panels, the menus, the tools, the functions, the features that you see here. So let's start from the top. So after the home or control D, you can see that for each icon here, for each command, you always have a shortcut key. So for saving, you have Control plus S of the keyboard and so on. Now, these are the most important probably commands that you will probably use, and this is the customizable. So if you click on this little arrow, you can see that we can customize this toolbar, which is called the quick access toolbar. Now, in the quick access toolbar, you can turn on and off some of these commands just by clicking on this drop down menu, or you can also customize it, but we're gonna skip that for now because we want to concentrate on the main things. So first of all, quick access. Then down below we have the ribbon. Now the ribbon contains all the different commands that we can use in the version of Revit that we are using. And you can see here that this is already a pretty complex version, even though it's light version. And you can find here the architecture ribbon, or you can call it tab, you can call it whatever you want, or menu. Then we have the structure menu, the insert menu, where we can insert stuff from outside into Revit. We have annotation elements. So as I was telling you before, when you import a family, that could be an actual object like a chimney or a window, or can be also an annotation. Then we have the site menu or the site ribbon. Here is where we can create terrains with topper surface and also site component and other elements concerning the site of the project. And this is, for example, a terrain right here. And by the way, you can click with your left mouse to select into the main view, which is this one here in the middle. You can also right click and open up this drop down menu. You can scroll the scroll wheel, and this is gonna do a zoom in and zoom out on the view, which is, this is a 3D view, by the way. And you can click on the scroll wheel if you want to do a pan, which is moving horizontally, vertically, and basically adjusting the view. And we're going to talk about navigation also later. Now here you have also the view tab. This is also pretty important because it's about the views, which are the window in your project, basically. So it's how you will actually see your project. And a 3D view is one of these option. And then you have manage tab, where you can actually manage, for example, the options or the location or the other information of your project, and also if you want to share and publish and so on. And modify also is a pretty important tab when you need to re-edit an element in your project. For example, if I select this piece of wall here, you can see that the modify tab has changed because this is content sensitive. So when I select something, this is gonna change accordingly. Now, if I don't select anything, you are actually in the view. And you can tell that also, so let's now proceed here. You can tell that also by the properties panel. Now the properties panel is gonna show you the properties of a particular object. So if I select again this wall here, you can see that it's giving me the name and all the information here in the properties panel. But if I don't select anything, so if I click outside here in an empty space, so I'm not selecting anything, it's gonna show me the properties of the 3D view. So you are either selecting something and it's going to show you the modify options for that element or the name of that, or you are simply not selecting anything and you are checking the properties of the view. So be careful about that. Now, when you select something, again, with left mouse, clicking with the left mouse button, you can also deselect by clicking ask on your keyboard. So if you ask, you're gonna exit that particular command, which is a selection basically. Okay, now when you roll over an element that's gonna be like highlighted in blue, this means that this is pre-selected. So then to select it, you need to click it with the left mouse. So roll over, pre-selection, click once, it's gonna be selected. If you click double, so if you do a double click on an element, for example, that window, if you double click that, it's gonna open up the family of that window, which is another file. So we are actually not in the project right now. We are viewing the elements in its, let's say, source file. So everything is then traceable. So I can trace back the source of a particular object coming from the main project. So again, this is a project, this is a container which is empty at the beginning. Then we fill it with a lot of elements, which could be walls, roofs, windows, doors, and we can go trace back those by double clicking. And so we fill up our project with all these graphic information, because right now we are in 3D, but don't forget that this is not just drawing or creating 3D objects or creating a project. This is also creating a database. So each of these objects contains data, contains information that are going to be stored into the main database for that project. And this is kind of explaining a little bit step by step what we are actually doing in Revit, that it's so different from AutoCAD or other 3D applications. Now let's move on here to the other panel right here that we find at the bottom, which is the project browser. Now this is also a really important panel, and this is used to check what's inside your project. It's kind of a hierarchy structure here, so you can click and open up and close up different layers or different levels. So for example, here, if you close everything up, you can see that your project will be composed by views, by legends, by schedules, by sheets, by families, by groups, by Revit links. So this is everything is gonna be inside your project, or that it's inside this project right now. Now, most important of all are the families, because we said that a project without families, it's actually empty. And we can see here we have a bunch of different types of families. And then we have views, which are also pretty important because they will let you actually work with your objects and your project. If you don't have views, you are blind. You cannot do anything here in the project. So this is why the project browser, the properties panel are probably the most important panels of all. And be careful because you can easily double click on this and this is gonna be undocked. So it could be like lost sometime somewhere. You can dock it in other position, but also you can click on the X here and it's gonna get lost. And same thing about the properties. So if you double click, this is gonna become floating. You can move it. You can also use 2 screens if you want, or 3 screens, and have everything managed differently. But let's assume that you are not an expert, you are just beginning, and you want to click everything all around here, and you can simply close that without even noticing. And you will find Revit like this, and you say, okay, nice Revit. This is really nice, but I cannot do anything. What am I supposed to do here? I select this, and I can modify it, but where's my other views? Where's my project? Now, this is easily done if you're a beginner, but I will show you how you can fix that. Now, make sure that every time you open up a Revit, you will find those panels that are paramount to work in Revit, which are the properties and project browser. Now, you will find them if you go in the View tab or the View ribbon and go all the way to the right until you find the User Interface button here, and you click there, and you can see that from here you can activate and deactivate parts of the interface. So talking about the introduction and the interface, this is probably the most important icon that you don't want to forget, because this is where you can get back the things that you accidentally closed or undocked or whatever. So you can see here that I'm opening up again the project browser, the properties, Also the view cube, it's a pretty useful tool. It's right here on the top right, and I'm gonna explain that in a bit. And also navigation bar, it's pretty useful. And then the status bar, which is the bar down below at the bottom. All right, so we reopen everything up, and now double click on the properties to dock it, but I don't want to dock it there. I want to undock it, and I will keep it here in the left side because this is the standard position, and I will use a standard interface because I don't want to be confused, and I don't want to confuse you either. So I will place this here at the bottom. You can see there when it's highlighted, you can click, drag, and drop it when it's highlighted in the correct position. So we edit here, we customize a little bit the interface, but now we are back to the standard interface, and this is what we are gonna use in all the videos because again, we're gonna keep it simple and standard. Okay, so we saw what properties are. Let's go back here, the project browser. I want to open up a couple of views just to show you here the different options that you have. For example, you can open up floor plans. So let's open up the first floor. All right, so you can see that this now looks like AutoCAD, only it's inverted. In AutoCAD, we usually have white lines and black or blue background, like blueprints. In here, we are more like in paper. So we have a black, white paper and the black lines here. But it definitely looks like a 2D drawing, a 2D AutoCAD file. And here it looks like 3ds Max or SketchUp, other software that can be used for 3D design. Now the beauty of Revit is that we can work either in 3D or 2D, and simultaneously we will create the 2Ds and the 3D. So it's let's say twice the results with the single action. Now let's open up something else. I want to show you the elevations. Let's go to the north elevation. You can see this is again looking like a technical drawing that we can print out to present for our client. If we do architecture or we need to do an exam, we can present this to our professor to show the project. And also we have sections. So let's see here this building section right here, and we have details as well. Now everything in Revit is linked together, kind of a web page. So if I double click on this blue link right here, this is gonna bring me to a detailed view. And again, everything is connected. So if I double click, it's gonna bring me to another detail and so on. Now every time I see some blue stuff here, it's gonna be a link that is gonna redirect me to another drawing. So again, these are really powerful features in Revit that we don't have in other software. Now I have 4 views here, and just to show you that we can work with everything, all the views together, we can click here and see and do the tile views, so we can see all the different views, and we can adjust them with the scroll wheel. So by scrolling the scroll wheel, again we do the zoom. By clicking the scroll wheel of the mouse, we will do a pan, and we're gonna adjust the views a little bit. And again, this is the elevation and the 3D, the original 3D view right here. Now we also have a nice feature here in the 3D view. If you click on this box surrounding the object and then we click and drag with the left mouse, these arrows, we can move this slice plane and we can place it right there. You can see this is now a nice 3D section that we can use to see what's inside the building. And I want to maximize this again. So to do that, you can rapidly type T and W on the keyboard. That's gonna maximize again your view. But you also can do another thing here. You can just click and drag it, so you can undock views just like you undock panels. And once it's undocked, you can extend this like that, or you can, well, basically close the other views right here. and that's gonna take the whole space. You can click and drag and drop the views around. So just like panels, you can click them, dock it, and this is now a 2D view, and so on. So right now I'm just gonna keep this one here so we can concentrate on this. And I want to show you the view cube because again, this is a really interesting feature that you find also in other Autodesk products, and this is helpful at the beginning to switch views. So this is a left view right now because I click on the left face, and then I can click on this arrow to move in the other elevations. And if I click here on this arrow right here, I am in the top view. This looks like a 2D view again, like an AutoCAD drawing again, or a SketchUp drawing with colors and materials. I can click here on the corners and I have this orthographic. So this is not perspective yet, this is just orthographic. I can also click and drag on the view cube to move around the project, or I can click directly on these letters to go in the west view, or east, or south, or north. I can go back to the top view. I can click on this home view to go back to the initial position of the 3D view. And also I have these arrows to rotate the canvas, and again, you can do a lot of navigation with this view cube. And remember that if you don't see it, you can activate it and deactivate it from the user interface icon in the view tab. So another button that usually beginners click is this one here. Now this could be again something that is gonna change the interface and could give you some troubles. So remember that if you click on this little button right here, you can see that interface changes and all the ribbons disappear. So you could get lost if you are a beginner, but don't worry about that, because if you continue to click that, it's gonna loop in all the different types of interface. And by the way, when you are in this position, in this kind of interface right here, the tabs are not just gone, they are just hidden down these drop-down menus. So you just go there, and this is just to save some space for the drawing area from the project area. So you can choose to do that to have more space, but again, in my case, I'm gonna keep things standard and as simple as I can. So I'm gonna leave the standard interface, which is this ribbon, always on, always activated. And there you go. So we checked all the main panels and menus and tools and toolbars of Revit. Now also that bottom part there, it's pretty important. So the status bar, that's going to show you some hits and some tips, some suggestions when you are using a particular command, and always keep an eye on that, because that can give you the solution for a particular command or action that you are doing. Now, just to show you the potential of a BIM application compared to a standard CAD. Now, this could be a standard CAD, but here, let me open up other drawings. Let's do tile views again. So in CAD, when you change a drawing, so let's say that right here, I want to get rid of this window. So in AutoCAD, I would eliminate this, which could be a block. So I will hit cancel, and I can hit the cancel key also here in Revit, and this goes away. But the beauty of Revit compared to AutoCAD is that when I delete that from this project, that's going to be deleted in all the different views, in all the sheets that contains that particular element. And that's going to be deleted also from the database, so it will not be found on schedules and quantities. So in the window schedules, for example, so this one will like show me all the windows that are in the project. So if I do Control Z, now my window is back on. Control Z and Control Epsilon is to go back and forward. So you can see that that window is going to appear and disappear from everything, from all the other views, including also this one here, which is the window schedule. But we're going to talk about that later. So again, Control Z and Control Epsilon, you can do that also from here, these little arrows, undo, redo. So the window now is visible. So if I select it also here in the 3D view and delete it again with the delete key or cancel in the keyboard like that, it's going to disappear also in the 2D views. There you go. And also this is, let me see here, this is should be a south. Okay, no, this is another one. Let me see if I can see it. But essentially what I'm trying to explain here is that if you delete something from one view, that's not going to be only on that view. That's going to be on every single view that, well, you can see that there are no more windows there. So when you do something in Revit, you are actually modifying the central model, which is essentially your project and your database, and that action is going to affect every single view, whether it's a section, a plan view, a detailed view, or whatever. That's going to be affected because you are working with data, with information, not only with drawings in 2D like that or with 3D models like that. So this is really the powerful thing about Revit, is that you need to just change one thing once. You don't need to go then through all the different sheets that you have created, all the different views, and change it one by one. It's going to affect everything. Everything will be synchronized. So I'm going to stop for this first introductory lesson, but I also want to tell you that in Revit Lite, you won't have the part concerning the rendering, but rendering in Revit is a little bit heavy. I suggest you can export then your scene into another software like SketchUp or Cinema 4D, some lighter application that will let you work with more realistic models and objects, and also with the V-Ray as a plugin. So you can install then V-Ray plugin, and you will find videos and courses in the channel talking about V-Ray installation and how to use it in different software like Rhino, SketchUp, Cinema 4D, and so on. Also, you can use Lumion, which is another application where you can import architectural models and then add a lot of 3D realistic objects and furniture and so on, and you can create rendering and also animation really easy, really amazing. And then you have Unreal Engine, which is one of the most popular, and here you can create renders, you can create animation, you can also create interaction with your scene, kind of a virtual exploration of your architectural project. And we will do also, you will find also guides about the imports of Revit into Unreal. And then please check our other video courses in our channel called JVDTube. You will find modeling courses like Maya video courses, or you can also find Cinema 4D, Rhino. Those are going to help you to create 3D models, because in Revit, that's another thing that you won't find, which is the possibility to create advanced 3D models. You can create easily architecture projects, manage architecture projects, create architecture projects, but you cannot create like really detailed furniture or characters or I don't know, anything basically. So if you want to go into details, you need to switch to another software. So this will finish my video here, my introductory video. But if you have some questions, if you want assistance, please write in the comments. If you want to support the channel, subscribe, and if you want to support us more, join the channel so that we can create more free videos like this. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.